Hey guys, it's Alex. I'm here with yet another book haul. I lied last time. That was not my last one for a while. I always hope. This book haul is not a box of books. I spent significantly more money on these. Not like much more. They are all used books, but I bought them at various times at various different stores, and then I just combined them all together for one giant video. The first four books I got are from the free bin at the Second and Charles I go to. They have a free bin outside where basically they will buy back your books, but they won't buy back everything. They have pretty strict standards most of the time, so they just have the free bin outside, so if you want to get rid of the books anyway, you can just dump them there and people can grab them outside the store for free. And I found four books that I wanted. The first is The Survivors Club by Lisa Gardner. I've been really reading a lot of Lisa Gardner, and this is one of the ones that my library doesn't have. I've been through all the ones that my library has in the store. Or not in the store, but they have in circulation. And this isn't one of them, and this is the only time I've seen it anywhere for cheap, so I'm quite happy to have found this. The next three are all Lisa Jackson mass market paperbacks. I have Final Scream, Close to Home, and The Morning After. I don't know anything about any of these except that Lisa Jackson is a thriller writer, much along the lines of Lisa Gardner, and I kind of figured, why not? They were free. I should just pick them up, and worst case scenario, I don't like them, and I can just dump them back in the free bin. No harm, no foul. But I do like having some trashy thrillers on my shelf that I can just grab whenever I want, when I'm craving one, because sometimes I am craving one. I love me a trashy thriller. The next stack of books I picked up from various Goodwills around where I live. I go with my friend a lot, and she is a fashion beauty blogger. I get distracted by books and buy way too many books, so these are the ones from the Goodwills around me. The first is The O.C. It's called The Misfit. It's based on one of the episodes in season 1. And it's basically literally that episode. It's nothing really special. I love The O.C. and it was there, and it was $1, and I couldn't help but pick it up. I'm not the only one who loved The O.C., right? Whenever I say I love The O.C., everyone always gives me strange looks, that's some sort of shameful thing, but I love The O.C., guys. I also grabbed all three of the Lord of the Rings. I have Fellowship, The Two Towers, and Return of the King. They all have the movie covers, which I don't mind. I don't really care that much that, this bothers me. I like that they match. I actually already had this one, but I wasn't sure it was the same edition, so I bought it anyway because it was $1 and it was the same edition, which is why it looks so familiar. So I'm just going to unhaul the one that I had because this is in much better condition. And I already have The Hobbit, so I don't need to look for that. I also picked up Unbelievable, which is the fourth book in the Pretty Little Liars series, so now I have the first four. I'm just slowly grabbing these as I see them. And I have The Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. I don't actually know much about this. I think it's a middle grade book. It's either middle grade or YA, and I don't know really anything about it. I've heard good things about Shannon Hale though, and I've seen her post some feminist things that I find interesting. So I'm hoping that I like this. I'm at least going to give it a try. Another book I picked up, which I'm very excited for, is The Good Girls Revolt, which is a nonfiction book about how the women in the Newsweek went on strike for equal pay, equal rights, equal opportunities in the 70s, 1970. There was a TV show called Good Girls Revolt, which was based on this, and I really, really loved the TV show, and I knew it was inspired by a true story, but I didn't realize there was a book, and I am super excited to read this book because the TV show is fantastic, and I'm hoping this book is going to be just as good. I have one more part to this book haul. It is the part I'm possibly the most and also the least ashamed of. After buying the books that I just showed you, I decided I wasn't going to buy any more books. I was done. I had enough. I have way too many on my shelves to read. And then my friend and I went on a road trip. And we had about an hour and a half to kill at one point. And there was a Goodwill nearby. So we went into the Goodwill. And I don't know if I've just picked clean the Goodwills near me of interesting books because I find so few, or if this was just a particularly amazing Goodwill, but I found so many books. I found 11 books, and they were all books I'm really excited for, so I'm simultaneously feeling quite guilty that I bought more than 10 books after I decided not to buy any more books, but also not guilty because there were only like 3 of these that I didn't actively really want. The first book I picked up was In the Garden of Beasts by Erik Larson. This is a nonfiction book about the American ambassador and his family in 1930s Germany. I started reading this from the library, and then I was in a really bad reading slump and it wound up being due before I finished it, so I had to return it. But it was an amazing book, and I've been planning to check it out from the library again. I just hadn't gotten around to it yet, and when I found this, I was so excited because this was a book that I was loving when I was reading it, and just having it on my shelf is going to make me so happy. I also grabbed Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This was probably one that I really didn't need to buy, and I feel guilty about. But I have Dark Places and Gone Girl, and for like $1.50, I kind of decided that I would want to finish my collection, even if I'm probably not going to read this again, or probably not anytime soon. Reading Lolita in Tehran by Azar Nafisi. I've checked this out from the library so many times. I keep starting it and then getting distracted and not feeling like reading it and it being due. I have started this before, and it's really good. It's really interesting. It's just one of those books that I struggle to sit down and read because it's a very difficult, slow read, and I haven't actually read a lot of the books she talks about in here because she is a literature professor. I think now that I own this, I'm going to try to read some of the books and authors she's discussing because that would make it an easier process to read, I think. But I am really excited to own this. This falls into the category of BookTube made me buy it. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyle. Everyone on BookTube was talking about this for a while and saying how much they loved it, and it was really hyped, and since I saw it, I just decided to pick it up. And I wanted to read it anyway, so now I have it. This was probably also one that I didn't need to buy, but it is the Best American Short Stories of 2013, edited by Elizabeth Strout. I have a couple of these books, like the Best American Essays, Best American Short Stories, Best American whatever. I like them. I had to get one for a class once in college, and they're really great anthologies, and whenever I see one, I just want to pick it up. In the Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time. I haven't read any Ruth Ware, but I always hear people talking about her and about how great her thrillers are, and I really love these dark psychological thrillers. So I was super excited to find this because she's been on my TBR for over a year now, I think. I picked up 2 books by the same author, Shattered Mirror and Hawk Song, and I'm trying to collect more of Amelia Atwater Rhodes because I really loved her when I was a teenager. She published her first book. You can see her on the back of this. She's very young. She published her first book when she was 13. And as a young teenager who wanted to be a writer, that made me really happy. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I'm not sure I want to read this. I haven't decided yet. It's Orson Scott Card. I know people love this and that people are so attached to this book. And I want to read it for that reason. But I also don't want to read it because it's Orson Scott Card. Picking it up at the thrift store doesn't support him. I decided to grab it, but I'm still uncertain of whether I want to read it because even just reading it feels like supporting a pretty crappy, terrible human being. I also picked up A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. I don't know anything about this. This was one that I probably didn't need to pick up at all. It's also a very heavy book. I don't know what it is, but this book is very heavy for its size. It's a historical fiction book set in the 19-teens, I believe, in New York about a family. I think it's a family story about character development and such. It seems much more character driven than plot driven, but I feel like I've heard of this book before in a more literary or an award-winning sense, or someone talked about it in a good way, but I'm looking forward to reading this because it looks like it could be very interesting. And the final book I picked up was Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. This is the 5th book. I mean, this is not the 5th book. This is the 2nd book in the Game of Thrones series, or in the Song of Ice and Fire series. But this is the 5th and final book that I have picked up, so now I have all of them. This isn't in the edition that I want. I like the teeny tiny, very thick mass market paperbacks. I just think they look so much more aesthetically pleasing than the giant floppy paperbacks or the hardbacks. So I am still looking to replace this in a mass market paperback as well as the 5th one, but it also doesn't really matter. It's really hard to hold this book. I'm like, please don't flop over on me. But those I'm only looking for those at like thrift stores and such, so they'd only cost me like $1. And I wanted to grab this so that I have all 5 in case I at some point decide to read them. I have Googled George R.R. Martin and read the things where he has said that plenty of people read books and enjoy them without them having an ending, which makes me concerned and makes me think that we might get the 6th book, but I ain't holding my breath for the 7th one. That is it for this book haul. I got some pretty popular books between like Ruth Ware and Game of Thrones and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. So let me know if you've read any of these, if you're excited for any of these. And to everyone out there who's also doing the News Readathon, good luck, and I hope your reading is going very well. Bye!